Capricorn for the spring of 2017. I've changed my layout in my cards, so I'll explain that. The decks I'm using, I've split the energies into masculine and feminine. So the cards I'm using for the masculine are from the Gods and Titans deck by Stacey DeMarco. The cards I'm using for the feminine side are the Goddess and Sirens cards, also by Stacey DeMarco. Now, the clarification cards for the feminine, I'm using the Kuan Yin Oracle by Alana Fairchild, and the clarification cards for the masculine are from the Voice of the Trees cards by Mickey Mueller. So these are the cards I'm using for this layout. Now, the way I am putting the cards, I'm using pyramid spreads. I put the women facing me and the men facing out, and I'm not necessarily assigning each card a meaning. I'm just going with the general base and working upward to a point of decision making, and I just go over the energies that I pick up with there as well. And then the clarification card kind of brings it all together. I'm going to start with the feminine side. I want to thank everybody for their likes and subscribes up to this point. I had a very good response from the February Love, Sex, and Romance card readings. So I decided not to carry it forward. I wanted to get into some deeper spiritual issues first. So that is my reasoning. Maybe later in the year or even to next year we'll bring out the sex cards and have some fun with them at that point. So let me know what you think of this. And I will start with the feminine energies. We start with the Capricorn female irresistibility. So these women are feeling a sense of power in that way. I don't want to use mixed words here, but there's an irresistibility within them that I think that they know that they possess, these Capricorn women. So they understand the effect that they have upon a man, and I'm seeing this as a direct. And not only that, I mean, in a spiritual way, they're just understanding the interconnectedness within. So the next card I get is compassion, and this is huge, huge, huge. I mean, it's Kuan Yin herself is in this card, is the depiction. So that is the encompassing factor of female side of things, is compassion. That is where we want to come from. That is where we evolve the most, is from that area, compassion. And that seems to be in the air of these Capricorn women. Now, the card that we get on the other side of the base is equality. So there's a good balance here of irresistibility and compassion. Now, compassion would be on the ego-less side of things, and irresistibility would be building up that ego and, you know, bringing it outward. So though the equality is not in between these two, it is still in the air to balance out these energies. Now, as we go down, we have a gateways. Now, gateways, I feel like it's opportunities opening up in whatever it is spiritually that you're working on. I feel like these gateways is the openings to opportunities to change and grow and deal with those issues. So that is something that will be illuminated. And magic, so that's awesome. The Capricorn women are tapping into not only just what they see in the 3D world, which is what we've lived to up to this point, but when you get into the realm of magic, it's like running on faith. And sometimes faith can bring you into some pretty miraculous stuff. Miracles, happenings that are unbelievable, and this is where we come into the magic side of things. So having that in there, and the gateways are open for this, it's like these Capricorn women are going to be coming across a few jolts to shake their world up in a way that will bring them closer. Now, interesting, you end up at unity. And unity is really about all the interconnectedness between these Capricorn women. Are really starting to get it. They're in the flow and they're going and they're nearing completion here. Because as soon as we get to unity, then we can start bringing it all together and making it work. You know, there's reasons behind. There's fluidity to the motions that we're going through. We're not just going through motions, right? There's a meaning, a reason, a symbol for everything, and they're seeing the symbols. They're starting to play with it now, so they're getting a kick out of it. I'm here and laughing like, look, did you see that? How synchronistic was that? That kind of thing. So it's like they're in the flow and they're feeling the magic, they're feeling the effect, and not only feeling it, but the possibility of using that outward, right? Using that. And I'll tell you, if they tap into their compassion, that's where they're going to go, straight to the magic. Because those gateways, look at this, compassion, gateways, and magic. You dip into your compassion, the gateways open, and then the magic starts happening. And then the unity is brought in. And in unity, like way I see it here in the Capricorn, female side, okay? And hopefully this transfers to the men as well. But on the female side, that magic opens, the gateways open up, the magic comes in, and then we can deal with the happenings outside of you. You can start changing the world, not because, but because you are connected to it in that flow, and that's really good energy for these Capricorn women. So they're feeling the flow. I'm feeling a lot of happiness, a lot of giddiness, a lot of moments where they may have not been in this for quite some time, or not seen this, or whatever. Like I'm just getting a sense that these Capricorn women are suddenly starting to enjoy life. They're getting into it. And that is all part of that, you know, and the compassion. Don't let that go. Because I feel like some of these Capricorn women can be hard-edged. And we don't want to fall back into that. We've done our work to get into compassionate side of things. We don't want to carry that backwards. So we need to stay in that. Stay in the compassion that's really connected to everything. Especially the magic, compassion, gateways opening up, and the opportunities coming at you, and the ability to wow people around you. And that's the sense of the feeling I get within them now. So in spring, this is all moving and shaking around them. It's all in their zone. I don't feel like it's going to build or end, or it's all in there. It's just, it's moving. So they're seeing great things. They're having a great perspective. They're feeling great, and they're reacting from that. So that's good. Now, the clarification card is the Eight Immortals. So that's interesting because the Eight Immortals is like higher wisdom. You know, all of the immortals that have come. Now, there may be some discernment that there may be issues with, and not quite knowing within the instinct of who you are, like gaining instinct. What is instinct? Is it, you know, what's the difference? And I think their advice in the Kuan Yin deck there is basically if you are resonating to a balanced outlook, like if you get an intuitive sense that plays on your insecurities or plays on your judgment, on a judgment of you, that is from a lower level center. That is not from the higher realms. It's not the advice you want to take. But if it comes from a center where it just clicks in, and it may even push you to do things that you may not feel you want to do, but it makes sense to you in the long, big picture of things, that, yeah, it clicks, this is right, this makes sense, then that is the higher realms. When you get plays on your, on judgment, things like that, coming from non-compassionate areas, that's really the lower level stuff that you're getting, and that just is your whirlwind of interior stuff that you got to work for. So you got to get higher than that. You got to listen to those soft, compassionate voices that really just softly, gently guide you. And I feel like you have, or you're just naturally going there, or defaulting to. But whatever the situation, you're in a very, very fun area for magic to happen. And the Eight Immortals, you just got to just sit down and focus a little on that. And that's really what it is you just don't go from the judgment. Go from the compassionate side of things, the loving, the caring, and the things that say, yeah, you know, that does make sense. In the long run, it does make sense. It's an evolution process, and along the way here, that makes sense. It clicks. So there's an inner guidance for that. You guys are clearly in it, so you've followed it up to this point. So I'm going to leave that. That's just awesome. I'm going to go to the male Capricorns. How are they doing? We start off here with confidence. So that's good. We move to obstacles, and the end of the base is cycles. So there may be a situation where these males, they are building their confidence in a certain area. They see obstacles, but there is also a vision of the cycles, an awareness of cycles. I feel like they may be coming across interesting information coming from within. Okay, they're really kind of doing some self-introspective work, and they're coming across the reasonings behind things happening to them. Not just, why does this always happen to me? Why does this always happen? Why can't I get this? Why can't I get that? No, they're finally coming into, it's like, oh, I've had a problem with this always happening, and this is why. It's something I did. So then they're changing it, and they're going, okay. And then, you know, so there's a confidence there that there's obstacles here that I need to overcome, but the cycles are still there. They're still coming, but they're there to keep you aware, keep you in the loop. And now being aware, you can see them and work with them and process them. So on the next level here, we have communication and perfection. Interesting. So the communication could simply be that you are communicating these outward. You are making a point to make others aware outside of you. This is where, you know, and communication, I think for the Capricorns, it may have been stifled in that area for some time. So that is I mean, it's good, it's red, it's fiery, it's out there. And that is, all that energy, that fiery, you need to have it outside of you. So if you can't keep it in, because it just destructs. So it is directly related to the cycles. So there is a sense of you may have someone in your life that you are communicating those things to, making progress with. You know, there's obstacles, communication about them, and the cycles are revealing themselves to you. So it's really in that process. And if you do not go outward with your communication, there's no illumination there. So that is the process that is starting, I feel, in the spring, gaining momentum here. And we're going to start to see a progression. These males are going to start to see the progression in the ways that they just didn't realize that it was the communication it was based on. I didn't realize I had to go outward with it. But we're not solving it. If we leave it inward, we can't find the solution. We don't give anybody else a chance to find a solution, it ain't going to get solved. So now they're doing that, and they're at least illuminating the cycles that they have, where they were not aware. They were just, why? Now it's like, okay, I know why, but how do I counteract that type thing? So perfection, confidence, and obstacles. So I feel like there's obstacles in your way, and it is due to this ego confidence that you may have, this perfectionism that you may have, wanting things to be just so. And I feel like you're going to have to resign to that. I feel like your plan is not the plan. I feel like your plan needs to be amended. So in order to do that, you may have to surrender, but I feel like the key to surrendering to that perfectionism or wanting things to be the way that that you think they should be, the communication will help you release the pent-up energy that you have. If you communicate that outward, it will not be such a struggle. You need to really reveal those inner feelings and go outward with that, and it will create more of a balance for you. Now, where we end up with is anger and rage. So I feel And this is interesting. Okay, on this side we have confidence, perfection, and rage. Now the confidence is like really the good ego self, right? The perfectionism, that's the bad ego self. So there's an imbalance, and then we end up at rage. So we just want to stay away from the confidence and the perfection side. We really want to drop all those really trying to attain all of those things. Confidence is good, but when it leads to perfection is when you get into trouble. You cannot have it the way that you want it right now. You have to let that go. So on the other side, we have cycles, communication, and anger. Now, the cycles are happening. They're repeating. There has been up to this point, I feel like we're on the verge of, for these male Capricorns, we're on the verge of cycles stopping. This being illuminated for you. And the communication, again, is the key. The obstacles are directly connected to the communication. So if you stop the communication, the obstacles will absolutely overrun. So to keep up the communication, and the cycles will show themselves. They are going to continue to cycle because you need to see them. You have limited awareness at one point. Your awareness is opening up, so now you need to take in more of this. So it will seem like there's just things coming at you in that way, where you have to, you feel like you've had enough. But you will absolutely, you have the strength to succeed as long as you don't let this side take over, the perfection, the rage, and the perfection, the rage, and the confidence, sorry. We have to temper that, temper the anger. But the communication, I feel, is the real key. It's the real thing that can change everything. It really keeps you away from obstacles. Communicating outward keeps you away from the obstacles. And the cycles are going to come for these males no matter what. It has to. It's like a karmic thing. It is written. It is in there. But the way you handle and the way you deal, and I feel like there's a strength there beyond reserve. It's obstacles. So obstacles are meant to be overcome. Otherwise they'd be endings. And they're not endings. They're obstacles. So they just have to be worked through. Now, the clarification card is spindle, obligation and discipline. So that is also key here between the perfectionism and the communication. The perfectionism has got to go. The communication has got to come in. The discipline and obligation are things that I feel these Capricorns have down. They are disciplined. They are obligated. And they can have obligations. And as long as they stick to those, like the spindle, they're talking about this winding the silk. It's a long, tedious process. But in the end, you get this, beautiful, you can weave it into. So it's a long, tedious process. But in the end, it's worth it. Man, my voice. In the end, it's worth it. Yeah, it seems like there's a real temptation to go on the anger and rage side, and you just need to really step back and remove yourself a little bit from that. Communicate to who you need to communicate to, who you trust. And there are people around you you can trust, absolutely. Safe people that you can trust. And the obstacles, again, being obstacles, they are meant to be overcome. And the reasoning that this is all coming to fruition in this way is for you to see these cycles, acknowledge them, be able to counteract them. See, okay, what am I doing? Okay. It's the whole learning process of why it is that this is happening to you. You have to get rid of it. Because until you do, you cannot flow forward free of all of this. So that is really what I see here is that cycles. It's happening again and again and again. And it is in the process of slowing down or stopping or getting rid of, because of your awareness and your communication within that zone. You know, if you just go, why, you're not getting anywhere. You go, okay, stop. And then you communicate outward what is going on while I'm doing this, and you're going to get feedback. You get feedback, you have gotten feedback, you may not have listened to it. This is why the repetitive cycle. This is why the continuation. This is why. So, going inward, doing that, like I said, it's like 75% here is enraged, but there is like that other 25% that is sitting there and has the ability to overwhelm everything else. And we've got here with the confidence is kind of that yellow bright light, and on this side too, even with the cycles card, we have that the sun kind of illuminating in both directions if we just fire up the right areas. You know, get rid of the perfectionism and communicate more. The obstacles are coming, they're there to be seen and to be worked on and to be conquered. And these Capricorn men, I think a lot of times they're running around wasting all that energy and being fiery, but in a non-productive way. So now I think they're either going to come out of a time of pause or really kind of be held in a time of pause where they have no other choice but to see their cycles and to confront their cycles and to work through their cycles, and the communication is absolutely the key. But the obligation and the discipline are the absolute strengths that will carry them through. So they are disciplined enough. They know where their obligations lie, and they will be true to that. So that is grounded. So there's a fiery energy there. It's just a matter of dealing with things and putting the confidence and the perfection aside and simply dealing with those things that are coming at you, those cycles. And that's what it is, just a continuous cycle. So the male side, the masculine side is a lot more challenging and less rewarding at this point. But the discipline, there's no such thing as discipline without reward at the end. You know, there's no such thing. So they've got the discipline, they're carrying it on, and they will be rewarded. It's just not in this time. You know, in this spring, it's going to be a little rough, going to be a little fiery, going to be a little irritating, agitating. But the communication is the key they can get out of. The women are very much in a magical place, happy-go-lucky. This is one of the readings that I must say where the men and the women are kind of complete opposites. The men are really in a fiery zone, the women are really in a fiery zone, but in a happy, jolly place. And they're seeing things and being enlivened and such like that. So it's really separate, which is interesting because there's usually links here and there, but these are very separate. Listening to their intuition. I do feel the men, too, are capping off on this. I feel like they're getting the intuition, and they may be, you know, discerning that in that way. I feel like that is transferring. But they're not getting so much of the happiness and the magical side of things. There's a lot of struggles here and cycles that are hitting them, so they're a little further back in that process. They're not being rewarded yet. But the dedication is there, the discipline is there, and that is coming. And if they stick to it, it absolutely will pay off in spades. So they just have to stick with the tried and true and move forward one step at a time, and they'll get through it. So that is the reading for the Capricorn males, females, masculine, feminine, for the spring of 2017. I want to thank everyone for their likes and subscribes again. I appreciate it. Tell me what you think. Give me some feedback. And especially I want to hear from the males, because there's a lot of women look at these sites. Maybe I'm prejudiced again. But I want to know if the males are resonating at all, how they're thinking of their side of things. Again, very different reading for the male and female and Capricorn. So this kind of tops off my the end of the spring readings. So in the meantime, I will probably be putting out a few meditation videos over the season if I'm active enough here and organized enough. And in the meantime, take care, have fun, and be kind.